Okay, we're looking at lighting this week. I've added a couple more pages here, so I've got a video in case we don't get to it. This guy does this in like a couple of minutes. We're going to try to add mirrors using reflection probes, but I'm gonna kind of start over and recover quickly what we looked at on Tuesday, and then go deeper. So let me just open up our assignment page here. We got old videos and all the requirements down there. Look over the requirements as I'm recording. Everything sounds really weird to me right now with this headset on, so let me know if I'm screaming. Um, and then, yeah, just look over this and let me know if we missed anything. So, uh, I was tired of that dungeon. I've done that one a couple years. So what I've done is I took a castle and dropped it in the middle of Polygon City, because why not, right? So we got a medieval times restaurant going on here in Manhattan slash Vegas, whatever this is. So that I can have some good outdoor lighting, and then we've got a nice enclosed indoor space. I haven't added anything in there yet. A couple things that I have done. You can see my nav mesh on. So we're going to want a nav mesh agent to walk around and absorb some light probes that we're going to be dropping in. So I've got Gingy in here walking around. He's going down the street into the castle and back, and so I had to set all my roads and sidewalks to static in order to make the nav mesh. So I did that already, and then I've got the other thing I did with this is I added physics to all of my cars because I thought maybe I wanted to make one of those a nav mesh agent, or at the very least, I was having a lot of fun shooting them. For this week, you can be first person or third person. That's up to you. I just went ahead and used the skeleton from last week, so I've got him in here, and I'm still not happy with his controls, but he kind of works. So I'll show you what we've got. I haven't done any lighting yet. I've just got a good scene set up for it. Maybe the headset's better. Maybe it's not picking up all the construction noise outside. All right. So I put a Cinemachine camera on this guy. We've got our full city, which right now is lit only by directional light, which is our standard Unity sunlight, and then our environment ambient light. So we got Gingy cruising around, and we got a skeleton who does crazy things. I saw the animation on Mixamo and I had to swipe it. All right. So first thing, in order to really show off lights, we need darkness, right? So the directional light as we have it is not what we need for this scene at all. So I'm going to go find that guy, and for now I'm just going to turn him off and play the scene. You can still see we have light. You'd think if I turned the sun off, we wouldn't be able to see anything, right? Well, in Unity, we have other lights going on. Oh, fantastic. I got some lag on my mouse. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to open up a few windows via window. So rendering, I'm going to get the lighting tab open here. I'd like to dock that over by my inspector. And then the other one I'm going to look at, we'll look at later. So also under rendering is the Light Explorer. Light Explorer is lots of fun. I'll dock this down here by the console. So what's going on with no lights in our scene, you can see in our Light Explorer, there's like literally nothing on. We're getting environment light from our skybox. So whatever our skybox is, and which right now it's kind of a cool little, it's that gradient that we see off in the distance here. We're getting a lot of ambient light in real time from that skybox. So I'm going to want to change the skybox out. I can either change the environment lighting to be something else, right? I could just make this a black color, but then it wouldn't match the skybox. So I'm just going to get a dark skybox. So I'll go to my project, and I think I grabbed, yeah. So I've got a Milky Way that I got off the asset store. So now I've got some stars at least. We'll get a little bit of ambient light from those. Whew, everything's lagging so bad. This is fantastic. Thanks, OBS. What are you laughing at? Never mind, I don't want to know. What? I don't know. Show me later. Yeah, so we're still getting some weird ambient light from that. Weird. So no sun source. Oh, auto generates on. So it probably still had some stuff from our last skybox. Force stop this. Get out of here. So I'm going to clear all the baked data that we have. Now we should have a dark scene. Yeah. So all I can see now is some stars. The clouds are a little goofy. We'll probably have to get rid of those. Big old glowing white clouds. And then the steam coming out of my sewers is an unlit particle. So that's fun. Yeah. Yeah, I can just either get rid of those or... Yeah, I'm just going to delete those, actually. Get those out of here. All right, now we have a dark scene. We can do cool stuff with it. So the first thing I'm going to do, now that it's dark and can't see anything, I'm going to take some prefabs of my street lights and I'll just add some fun stuff to that. So let's see here. Go. So prop, light pole, base. So I'm going to go into prefab mode on this and I'm just going to add some lights to it. So I will game object, light. I saw this cool trick. So I'm going to add a point light up in here, as well as a spotlight. So the point light's going to shine all out like it was ambient light, and then a spotlight shooting down will get us kind of a cool street lamp look. So I'm just going to line this up here. And I also did post a link in our assignment page to some pre-built street lights. If you're not using this scene, that already have lights and stuff in them, it's kind of cool. So put that there. I want to make sure that this is my mesh renderer. We're casting shadows. Good. All right. And then I'm going to also add a spotlight just to see how that looks. And it already started pointing down. That's nice. Go back into ortho mode to line it up. And then that one kind of down. I don't want this light to actually affect that. I just want a cool little spot shining down. All right. And I did that in prefab mode with autosave on, so we should see a whole bunch of lights now in our scene. And I think those are all set to real time by default. Let me just check. All right, so those are real time. Let's just see what this thing looks like now. I didn't mess with any intensity. I probably could. So we've got some light. Not a lot. I want to turn those up. All right. All right. Matthew, I'm going to need your help because everyone sounds muffled. So if there's actual questions, I need you on call, man. All right. So I'm going to turn my spotlight intensity up. I'm going to play with this and make it a little yellow. With all those, I'll turn the intensity up on this as well. Make it even yellower. And for the range, I'm going to go up some. So I'm going to double my range of my point light, so we have a lot more ambient light coming off of that. Yeah, that looks better. Kind of creepy. We like it. All right. Luckily, all that was in prefab mode, so this will be easy to do. What we want to do with this is for this scene, we don't want to use a lot of real-time lights. Real-time lights cost a lot of processing power for Unity, so we're going to bake all of our lights. In order to do that, we need to have our lights set to baked, and we also need to make everything in our scene static. So I'm going to go ahead and set these. So this will be baked, spotlight baked, and this is where we're going to need light probes later, so we'll move that out. And right now, let me turn that bluish off, but that kind of helps. These things that are set up, you can see the nav mesh on, those are static, so those are going to get my baked light. The other things I haven't set to static yet, so they wouldn't get all the light, and that would be just awful. So I'm going to go in here and try to attempt to fix my giant mess of stuff. Flowers and such, whatever I grouped all this as, because this was all sitting in the root in this original thing. So whatever's in there, I'm going to say you're static. Clouds and such I deleted. Props looks like a whole lot of stuff. I'll set that to static. The cars I'm going to leave. Sidewalks, skylights, basically everything else. And everything in my castle, gatehouses, set all those to static. So that means they won't move. When they're static, they can't be affected by physics. So if I smacked them really hard with a sword, they just stand still. They wouldn't do anything. They would be navigable for my nav mesh, and then again, they also will get baked light since they're static. So I think I've got everything in there done. We're just going to bake the lights we've got just to see how they look. If I go to my light explorer here, since I did that on a prefab, I don't know how many street lights there are, but it looks like I've got a whole bunch of spotlights and a whole bunch of point lights. So that was terrible. This bake might take a while. I'll start it, and then we're going to keep working. But we'll start the bake just to see what happens. So over here in the lighting tab, if I look over here, I don't have any baked light mats yet. My environment light, I liked that. And then the scene settings, I'm going to set this to my GPU for the lighting. It'll process faster on my machine. Most machines, the GPU is going to do more for you than the CPU for lighting. I'm just going to hit generate. And so this will, since I have so many lights now, this will probably take a while. It's going through calculating the light for all of my lights. The intensity, the bounce, all of that stuff. And it's taking that light data and baking it onto an added texture for all of the static objects around it. So each piece of, oh, my mouse is completely not even working now. Awesome. The computer's mad at me. So each piece of sidewalk, each road, all of those are going to get a brand new texture over the top of them with this light data faked onto it. And then Unity will run a lot smoother once it's all baked lights. But this was ill-conceived since I did this to so many prefabs. And I'm going to stop that right now. Please stop. Please give me my mouse back. Thank you. Didn't even get anything done. So no baked light maps happened. We'll look at that in a minute. I do want to move on to some other stuff. So I kept my directional light in here because we need cookies. So we did this quickly on Tuesday. We'll do it again. So let me find my directional light. Turn it back on. And this is the giant sunlight baking everything right now. It's real time. It's not baking, but it's lighting everything up. So we can use this directional light as a sun, or I can use it as a massive spotlight and shine neat symbols onto the ground. So right now we only have a skeleton to save our city, but we want a better hero, so we're gonna find one. All right, so go to my. Oh, I lost it again. Where is my directional light? Where does it live? Oh, was it there in the root? I just couldn't see it. Yeah, there it is. Okay. So by default, it's set up to look like a sun. It's got this weird color that Unity always uses for sunlight. And in this mode, as a real-time directional light, I could move the transform anywhere, and it wouldn't affect it. Right? It's just shining light in this direction. The rotation matters. The rotation definitely matters on a regular directional light as far as which way the shadows are going to go. But the position of it, not so much when it's a full directional light. But now if I add a cookie to it, is this even working? It might be. All right. Let me show you what I did with the cookie. So this image right here, if I can open it up, is this. It's white and it's alpha. When I imported it in, it came in as either a 2D or a texture, which is default. So I just say, hey, be a cookie. And I had to tell it what kind of thing I was going to put it on. So I was going to put it on directional light. And then apply. And I think it's just really small right now. Let's figure out where it's at. Huh? Oh yeah, there it is. Tiny little thing. Yeah, so we're shining a little bat symbol here. So here on wrap mode for the cookie, I can set this to repeat, and we can just have this pattern all over the place. Mirror, we can see it's upside down in some spots there. Just mirror once on the X and the Y axis, or I'm going to clamp it. So I just want the one. Back on my directional light, now I can change the color. So I want more of a yellow, and I can change the cookie size. So I'm going to set this to like 10 and 10 and see what that looks like. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even this isn't big enough, I don't think. So Probably 50. Yeah, there we go. That's fun. And now that we've just clamping and it's just one texture, then our position definitely starts to matter on the directional light. Let me see if I can just shine this on the castle. See if I can find my castle. I think it was that way. There we go. So a bat symbol is fairly obvious to the nerds in the room, I think. The other thing I've seen this used for is faking window pane light. So it looks like we've got light coming in from like through a window pane or through a vent or whatever. So cookies are kind of cool. So we want at least one cookie on a directional light. This assignment. We could also use cookies for flashlights. And I'm going to change this guy right now to be, instead of real time, I'm going to make him mixed. So he's not going to move. I could really just bake this, but I want to talk about mixed. So what mixed is going to do is it's going to bake this cookie light onto everything that's static around it. But then when I bring a dynamic object through, like Gingy or the skeleton, they're just going to get that light as well. So it will do real-time calculations for us as mixed. And I'm going to, for the sake of being able to see, I'm going to go find my, what was it, lamp? Street light? What was the thing that I put my other lights on? All right, yeah. Prop, light, pole, base, obviously. All right, I'm going to change these guys back to real time for now until I'm ready to do my bake. So again, point lights shine out of a sphere in all directions. Spotlights, I think we all know what spotlights are. They shine in one direction. We can change the cone and the range and all that of that. The directional light can be a spotlight, sort of. And then the other thing we need to look at is area lights. So I'm going to sneak into my castle here that I can't even see and add some area lights. Nope, that didn't help. I have to put lights in before I can see to put lights in. All right, that's what I'll do. All right, let's choose this little piece of floor in my castle. So I've got a pivot, and I'll just add I'll add a point light for now in there, just so I can see inside. All right, that's just here. It's a work light while we're installing the actual lights. The other type of light we need to look at before we get into all the probes is area lights, and those are baked only. So game object light, area light. These are cool little panels of light that can be either rectangles or discs. So I can change the width and height of a rectangle or just make it a big disc. These are great for panel lights, basically. You're seeing absolutely zero effect right now because these only work as baked lights. So I'm going to drop this down here. Where did it go? There we go, area light. You can see this little ray. That's just the direction of the light. Area lights shine in one direction. And I'm going to just crank this way up. You see I can't even change this. This is baked only. So get rid of this point light. And now we're completely in the dark. And I'm going to go try and bake that. Since I set everything else back to real time, if I try to generate a light map now, try to bake this, it should just only bake the disk light. Fingers crossed. Oh, I have my directional light to mix, so it's also going to bake that. That's cool. We're fine with that. Give that a couple minutes. Only what? Yeah, have that be the only one set to baked. That's what I just did here. Yeah, everything that's set to baked when you hit bake is gonna cook. So you could turn the other ones off, or just set them to real time like I did with all of my street lights. Because yeah.
Set one to bake afterwards, then bake. Will it bake them both again?
So there's the menu's gone. I've seen it do additive baking, and I've also seen it just reset everything. So it's hard to say sometimes what it's gonna do. I'm sure there's an actual setting to tell it which of those to do. We'll find it. What have I done? Okay, let me, if I can use my mouse every few frames. I can't even, there we go. So the area light is baked. Let me just stop this, because it's, even just for this one light and the directional light, it's saying like 3 hours right now. Please stop. Okay. Let me find my directional light. Change that to be real time only. For now, and let's just see what baking one light does. I'm going to pull off the indirect multiplier. So the other cool thing is in this Light Explorer, you've got all the settings that you need for all of your lights. So named lights are good, so you know what's what. For right now, I just know I've got about 100 spotlights and 100 point lights or whatever. So let me see. Okay, so it had baked a couple of maps for me. And so if I hit generate lighting, I don't know if it's going to add to these or not, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear baked data. Yeah, and then the other option is to bake reflection probes only, which we're going to get to. So hit generate on just this one light. This is probably the best way to do this, and since area lights are baked only, probably best to do quick bakes on your area lights first, so you get those set right before you start baking everything. Yeah, because I mean, there's just no way to know what an area light looks like until you bake. Yes, they have issues. All right, we'll let that do its thing for a minute. It's not even giving me a time yet. It's just still pre-processing. So the other thing we want to do, we want some area lights, obviously, that we're going to bake. We want everything else that we can to be baked. Most of the games that you have on your Xbox, PlayStation, Steam, whatever, have baked light data in them because they don't want to melt your machines. It's really still saying an hour on this. Might have made it too big. Yeah, because shipping with real time lights just not good. Your frame rate's going to be terrible. People are going to be mad. Bad stuff. So the other thing we want to do, we want all 4 lights in here, and in some kind of a bake. So I want some baked spotlights, baked point lights, baked area lights, and then a baked directional light with a cookie somewhere. We're going to want to give your first or third person player a flashlight, and that can be something that we can turn on or off. Would be fun. And we can use a cookie there. There's a lot of, well, this bakes. There's a lot of good flashlight cookies that you can just find. Um, so this kind of like halo and like stuff that when you think of a real flashlight, the light that it casts, we can go find cookies that are going to do that. We put a spotlight in our player's flashlight and give it this kind of a cookie like this. It's going to look way more realistic than just a pure god light coming out of it. This is a great one right here. See if I can get just that by itself. Yes. All right. Right then. So even though I've only got one light that's baking, I've got thousands of objects that are set to static. And so you can see these are the light maps. It's still going to generate a light map for everything in my scene.
So it's a light map per light per object.
Per object, not necessarily per light.
Okay.
It'll take longer to calculate per object if you've got like 5 lights shining on the same object. So that's a more complex. Yeah, we can't just say okay, turn off the area lights and then we just turn off certain tech. No, it's per object. So the bake is done. Consider it a casserole. All the ingredients are in there. We're not separating them back out again. All right, so I'm gonna stop this again just so we can get into some more stuff. So the scene I was playing with on Tuesday, I got bored of, but at least it's a smaller scene. I got maybe too ambitious with this scene. It definitely happens. Look at this. Here's something else that I didn't quite know existed, but for whatever reason, like this opened up a lot of my stuff. Did you know you can do this? So I can just come up here to this guy and say collapse all. It's going to close out all of my hierarchy stuff. Yeah, I was struggling to find something like that the other day, and like there it was. It was so awesome. All right, so I'm going to take this here. I do want to show you one thing before we move on to reflection probes and things. So here in my scenes folder now, my scene is city castle lights. It created a folder here, and we've seen these before with NavMesh. Oh, it's not even in there. What the heck? The dungeon got it. So it didn't complete it, so it didn't save them in there. So in that folder that sits right next to your scene with your scene name, usually your NavMesh bake goes in there. Your light bakes will also go in there if they finish. So here on this other scene that I was playing with, I'll just open that. Let me just save this. Save this scene. Go to Dungeon Lit. So this is a smaller scene that I was doing some baking in. That bake finished, and so in this Dungeon Lit here's all of the light maps for the objects in my scene. A lot less objects, so a lot less maps here. So that turned out nice. Some of these are like wild. Like, what the heck? Could like submit this to some New York art festival and like they'd think I was the new Picasso avant-garde something. Crazy stuff. But yeah, so make sure that when you export your scene, right, that you also include that folder that goes with it. That's going to be all your baked light maps. I do want you to bake your stuff before you submit. Buckle up. So it could take a few hours depending on how big your scene is and how many lights and all that stuff. So get all those baked, and I'm going to be looking for a folder full of baked light maps in your submission. Just so we can all experience the pain and the joy of. It's a few hours of baking, but from then on, your players have no churn, right? Like your frame rate goes back up. It's all worth it, but it is a pain in the butt as you're doing it. All right, I'm going to try to go back to the other scene because I was having fun there. Yeah, you don't even need them at that point. I think you could delete the lights. I mean, so the lights aren't calculating anyway. If they're set to bake only, they are not calculating in real time. But I think in theory you could just delete them, and just the light maps will handle it. Yeah. Crazy stuff. All right, I need to go back to my area light. We'll pretend it's baked, and I'll just go ahead and put another point light or two up in here so we can do some fun stuff. All right, I'll pop this in the corner-ish. And we'll do a quick demonstration of some reflection probes. So I'm going to drop in a game object. I'll just use a cube. That apparently is now called F because I wasn't in the right panel when I hit that. Trying to put it on the wall, and I'm going to make this a mirror so Skelly can see himself. Yeah, it's a fun thing, sort of. All right, so make a nice big mirror. Maybe it made it too big. It's kind of sticking out of the wall. I kind of like that. That's fun. All right, and I need to make a material for this. I don't have a materials folder. That's odd. All right, let's make one. So create folder, materials, and then create a material. So pop this on here, and we'll change some settings on that in a minute. And so I want, as a child of not F, let's just call this actually what we want it to be, mirror. I'm going to add a reflection probe to that. So I want this to be a child of the mirror. It's just going to make life easier, and I'm going to reset all of that. So now I've got this reflection probe guy as a child hanging out here. He's set to baked, which we obviously can't bake because our life is crazy right now. So this probe is going to pick up things, and it'll work on anything in its vicinity that has the right reflective material on it. So I'm going to go back to mirror, and we put our mirror material on it. And so we just need to play with our metallic and smoothness to make this a reflective surface. So we crank it way up. So you can see right here, it's even getting a reflection of our giant point light that's lighting up this area. This is real time, so intensive. But if you wanted a mirror, this is the way to do it. You can play with the size of the probe to make that work right. Let me see if I can. So right now, by default, the probe is yay big. You probably want to set it just bigger than the object if you're just using it for a single object, or you can have anything in this area be reflective. The other thing is, as you adjust the size of the probe, you can really get some funhouse mirror craziness going on here. So I'm going to see if I can get in here and see myself in the mirror. This is real time. It's going to refresh. Let's just say we'll refresh every frame for right now, which is going to cause some churn, but it's going to be good for, I want to see my third person character in the mirror. What we're going to want to do for later is set this to bake, and then it's just going to grab the environment and bake it as a reflection onto the mirror, and then be done with it again, right? So we're not doing stuff in real time. But for now, I'll do real time. And even at real time, these settings, right? I'm not doing via scripting. I can every frame we're updating that reflection, which is going to kill our frame rate, or just on awake. And so it's on the start of this scene. It's going to go grab all the reflection data, throw it in there, and then again be done with it. So it's real time-ish. But I just want to see how this mirror works. So I'm going to set it to every frame, and then try to navigate my ridiculous skeleton down the road and in here. I think we'll even see Gingy. I think he goes into the castle as well. There we go. So there's my real-time right now cookie on the bat symbol. What? Huh. Very odd. Maybe just set it up too high. Oh, very, very briefly I saw my pixelated reflection. All right, there's stuff we can do with that probe to make it more. So the resolution, okay, is at 128. We can crank the resolution up. Change the what? Yeah, let me look at that. So I think I had that. Oh, I've had it all the way up. You could tint it. Yeah. Yeah, so again, that really, really crazy funhouse mirror type stuff. Yeah, see, a whole lot clearer just changing the resolution of it. I can see myself in there better now. Oh, and I can even see Gingy behind me. So that's that. So again, use real time to get the look you want, and then roll it back to baked. Let me just check the rubric and make sure what we want to do with that. So custom or baked. All right, so I want two, according to the rubric here. I want a baked, reflection probe, mirror, and then a real time one. We need to talk about importing meshes and then baked lights and then the flashlight. So, all right, something crazy. So let's imagine, if you will, that these are going to be baked lights here in this street here. If they're baked, then all this goodness that we see exists on all the static objects around it. But when skeleton or gingerbread man or anything else comes through here that's not a static object, it's going to get no light data. So it's going to look like this dark shadow. I mean, the gingerbread man's kind of menacing anyway, but how scary is something that doesn't absorb light? So we would need light probes in here that would get data for this area when it does the bake, and it will fake some light onto dynamic objects that are coming through. So we're going to want that at least in a corridor. What you could do is you could just have it down one street or just along one wall and just have a nav mesh running along next to a wall of torches or something, just so we can see that this happens. So I'm going to go ahead and add some light probes up in here. So lighting, light probe group. And this is what a default light probe group looks like, with a bunch of weird spots. And it's sampling data, so I can move. Oh, where'd it go? I really need to fix my scene. It's just terrible. Lock that. I'll just lock all these. Tired of accidentally selecting all of it. Okay. So go back to my light probe group. I can edit light probe positions, and then from here I can just move, make this bigger, and we're basically creating a web, and everything within it is going to get light data baked. So if I had it just right here, then as my nav mesh agent cruised through here and he was within this area, he would start to receive faked lighting data from this baked lamp. Does that make sense? Sort of? No? Since I picked a bad scene and can't bake this one, it doesn't help as much. Let me do this. I'm going to save this and go back to the other scene. And this will work on our animated player as well. So everything else should be set to static except for this guy. I've got a bunch of lights here. All of these are baked except for my directional light, which is mixed, so that I can stand in the bat symbol. So if we play this without light probes, we'll see what our skeleton guy looks like. He's just kind of flat. Right, I'm here where all these candles and stuff are at, and I'm not seeing any light, any shadow. It's just odd. but I am getting light from the cookie that is set to mixed. See that? All right, so I'm going to put a light probe group over here by this set of candles so we can see some difference on him. This was a fairly fast bake since it was a small scene. So, assets, lighting, or game object light. There we go, light probe group. Again, I want this to kind of encompass the area where the light's at. So I'm going to move these out. There, something like that's fine. Yeah, I think that's tall enough to encompass him. I might be able to jump out of it, which will be fun to see. We'll see that. So we'll go lighting. So maybe for this assignment, we don't do entire cities. Unless you want your computer to just, stay hot for the entire fall break. Yeah.
The probe group, what exactly is it overriding? Because you could already set things in dynamic. But is it specifically attached to a specific light plate?
So it's going to give me fake data within this area. So it's going to have a whole other set of light maps that it's going to try to apply to dynamic objects that come through there. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to look as good as all the other lights and shadows. But it's going to try to approximate, hey, you're here, and I know we've got some light data over this way, so I'm going to cast a little bit of light on you via some light maps. So it's going to kind of just temporarily layer some light maps over our skeleton guy.
So it's not real time.
It's not, no. Well, so it's yes and no. In real time, it's applying faked light data to our object.
But it's not doing this calculation. It's a cheat.
Yeah, it's an absolute cheat, is what it is. Yeah. And that may take a couple minutes. I want to come back here. So let's just look through the rubric. We want interior, we want exterior. It doesn't have to be an entire city. Probably don't do that. Or just turn off a whole lot of your city. We want all the light types. So area, directional, point, spot. Point should be baked as well. We want a cookie on something. You can put it, just the cookie on the flashlight will be fine. Our real-time flashlight. Everything that's not going to move, we want to mark static. We want the light probes in at least one area that's going to be obvious for a third person or a nav mesh agent to go through. Bake everything. Again, some nav mesh agent to cruise around and soak up those maps from the light probes. So we want our nav mesh agent to go through the light probes. First or third person play with a flashlight, a couple different reflection probes, a baked or custom one, and then a real-time one so I can see my character. Oh, and the other thing, show you if it'll let me. So I would like you to bring in at least one of your own models for this assignment, just to look at basically one setting. So, and the point being, we want generate light map UVs. So it's going to automatically set up a new set of UVs for us to bake a light map to. So will it let me do anything here while it's baking? Maybe. I'm going to go find just an object to bring in. I have a simple crate. We'll just use that. Ooh, a broken crate sounds even more fun. All right. So I've got a busted up crate here, which is not going to be as cool because I'm going to mark this as static, so it's not going to fall apart. But on my import settings for this, what we're looking for here is this checkbox, and I'll be checking these. So generate light map UVs. It's just going to give us a new set of things, so I'll be able to bake light maps onto these. I think Unity will do some light mapping for you without that, but this gives it its own space for it, so just makes it better.
Rob, you remember that map I made a couple years ago, Wizard 404?
Yeah,
The first edition had a bunch of grass on it that like waved in the winds and all kinds of sticky bushes around. And when I tried to make a light map for that with all that grass on it, it made my wave appear and freeze up. Or, like it just, I had to close Unity.
yeah,
Delete all the grass and start over. It was crazy.
yeah. We're getting into some very fine tuning type stuff. So, so far we just been making silly stuff because we can. We wouldn't ordinarily bake light maps on anything unless we had a game we were ready to ship. But since it is a big deal, I wanted to cover this, and I think a lot of the lighting stuff is on the exam. So yeah, a lot of lighting stuff on the exam. So that's another reason we're covering it this week. Still 4 minutes allegedly, 5 minutes ish. So you'll need your own objects in here. You'll want to set them to static so that they can soak up lights, and I'll be checking for this generate light map UV checkbox on your settings. The other thing, while this is still baking, with still 4 minutes left, I changed the due date for this, and I can do it for the quiz. I realized that there's something called fall break. That's a thing. And usually we have stuff due on Monday night, so it wouldn't impact us as much. But I'm going to I went ahead and move this to Tuesday just in case. So you've got time to come back and do stuff. Probably what would be a good idea, though, I know you want to start fall break and just like tune out right now. But if you could get this done and while you're fall breaking and relaxing, have your computer baking some light maps off in the distance. It might take the whole fall break. Yeah, like if I'm not sure at this point with that whole city that I was trying to do, it might take the whole fall break to bake that. I don't know. Don't do that big of a scene with that many lights. If you have a desktop you're not using, yeah, that's prime. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Good desktop GPUs run faster. Who knew? Hmm? I'm afraid to. That's why I turned it off.
Don't be afraid. I'm afraid.
Hi. Stay with me for a second.
No.
Lainey's having a problem.
Oh, okay. Well, he's not helping these people, so you might as well put him to work. I'm experiencing fear.
Oh, you put Prop in a bunch of games. Just streaming. Incredible. That's so many, though. It wasn't just me.
It was.
With the help of my friends.
All right. Yeah. Oh, the other thing I was gonna just point out. Reflection probes for mirrors make sense. I found this short video. This guy is really cool stuff. Using it for Windows. So if I set my material to be transparent, semi-transparent. I still get that cool reflection data, so you can get like that cool like reflection of the room on a window. That's just extra immersion, and especially if it's baked, you'll get a first-person game. You don't expect to see yourself in a reflection. It's just good stuff. So he covers how to do that, and it's like, I don't know, 4 minutes or something. So we've only got a few minutes left, but this says it's only got a few minutes left. I would like to see the light probe, so we're gonna stick it out. Like and subscribe, up my ad revenue, so I can get a better GPU, so these videos can be shorter. Right now, my ad revenue is at a flat 0, so anything would be an improvement.
Sponsored streamed classes.
Why not?
Before we open unit,
Tell your friends.
class was sponsored
By HelloFresh.
Can't afford college? It's okay. Follow this YouTube. It's actually counting down. Oh, we're under a minute. Oh, the other thing. So yeah, we do want a flashlight on your player, first or third person. Turn it on, turn it off, or just have it on at all times, whatever. A flashlight cookie would be great for that. Hopefully, I don't have to mention this, but I will. Obviously, that should be a real-time light because it's going to move around with you. So don't try to bake your flashlight. I'd kind of like to, yeah, I'd like to add some good flashlight animations to my skeleton guy. I think I'd also like to add him lighting up. Add like some Ghost Rider flames to him or something. That'd be fun. That was the other thing we skipped over. Okay. Let me just see if these light probes work, and then we'll talk about the last thing. Maybe. What? There's so many things to remember. Why is this class so hard? All right, see, look, he lights up a little bit in this area. Ever so briefly. Just a little bit. Yeah, so you just look at the material of the skeleton himself. He's out here in the darkness, comes in here, and we are seeing him light up. He was not doing that earlier, so that's what the light probes do. They're just giving a little bit of light when he's in that area. I'll bet I could jump out of it. Yeah. Kind of wild. It's already on this. So the other thing that we talked about Tuesday, but we didn't get in this recording yet, is emissive materials, which can also be baked or real time. I think you can. Let me just double check. So on my treasure chest. That's all the lighting. Yeah. So in your material, we've had this emission map in here, and this one's ridiculous. You can give it a map, or you can just give it a color, and it's going to glow out that color. So I've got a phaser model that I found online that's got like just emissive maps for like where the things are supposed to glow when they light up. So you can have just a legit emissive map that says, hey, this part right here is supposed to light up. Or right now, I've just got like on the entire wood area, I just said emit white. And if I turn that off, like that's what the actual thing looks like. That would be awesome. Yeah, that would be fun. You could probably, yeah. I mean, any of these properties of the components are accessible via script. So we could make lights flicker. We could probably make the emission go up and down too. So the emissive right now that I've seen, or I've got tiling and offset, like that doesn't help me. That's just for the map itself. We've just got on and off. But if there's a way we can get into the intensity of that without just changing the color of the thing, then that would work. Yeah, yeah. So that's something fun that we can do. So yeah, this happened. So I turned it off. Everything's taking forever now. So this light around the chest came from when I had the emissive material on it and baked it, and then I turned it off. But I'm still getting the glow in the bake, so that's nice. And I had another one. Somewhere. Anyway, I had another treasure chest that should have the same effect on it. For whatever reason, I can't use my mouse to turn now, so I don't know what's happening. Anyway, emissive's the last piece. Light probes. There's a lot of moving pieces here. But we don't need a lot of gameplay. I just need to be able to move around in whatever scene this is to see the effects of all your lights, and then we need something else that moves through there so I can see the light on it. So some NPC nav mesh, something that cruises around. And we can see he goes through your light probes so that we can see how well those work. Make sense? Okay. Have fun, and don't do too large of a level, or your laptops will just burst into flames. Yeah. I mean, that's up to you. Are you still marked absent? Yeah. Well, details, man.